Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Lucky Strike's blowing smoke rings at you from the studios of Comfortably Zoned Radio. And it's time once again for Dodgers baseball, a tale of two cities from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. I'm your host, Peter Trunk, and my co-host is Ron Rabinovitz. Ron, how are you?
Good, Peter. How are you doing?
You spoke to another group of folks this morning about Jackie Robinson?
I sure did, yeah. I went
That's
to Target
wonderful.
Field and spoke to some great kids. So it was a lot of fun.
Wow. You're doing a great job. Really,
Thank
it's
you.
important what you're doing. You're educating, and it's a very important subject. We have a special
Thank you
guest
so much.
tonight, Ron. We have a special guest
Good.
tonight, and I'd like you to introduce him to our radio audience, if you would be so kind.
Bernie Rose, right? Bernie,
Yep, correct.
how are you doing? Welcome to our show.
Thanks a lot. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Welcome back, we should say. Bernie's been on the show a lot of times.
I don't know if he's ever been a guest with me, but I'm glad to have him on. That's terrific.
Well, back in the day, he was on all the time. And,
Right.
And Mr. Rose is a Dodger historian, and he still remains a Dodger fan to this day, rooting for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he resides in Florida, but he's originally a Brooklyn boy.
That's
all right,
correct.
So,
great.
welcome aboard again, Bernie Rose.
Bernie.
Before we talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we're going to get to them, I would like to start the show off, as normal, with a couple of stories or three about the Brooklyn Dodgers. I was reading a book, one of my many, many, many books that I've read on the Brooklyn Dodgers, and thank God there's so many of them out there. But I'm reading on the beach the other day Ralph Branca's book that he authored along with David Ritz. David Ritz is the guy who wrote the book about bringing the Dodgers back to Brooklyn, the novel. Anyway, that's the same David Ritz. And the name of this book, Branca's book, is A Moment in Time. And it was written, I think, in 2011. And the first thing that jumped out at me from one of the pages was that in 1948, we all know that DeRocher was suspended. Leo DeRocher was suspended in 1947 by the commissioner. And in 1948, DeRocher came back to the Dodgers, and after not long at all, like sometime in May, I believe it was, early in the season, however, the Branch Rickey was looking to get rid of Leo DeRocher. And it just so happened that Horace Stoneham was going to fire Mel Ott at the Polo Grounds as the manager of the New York Giants, and he was looking to replace him. And he called Branch Rickey, and he asked permission to speak with Bert Schotten. He wanted permission from the Dodgers to talk to Bert Schotten. He wanted Bert Schotten to replace Mel Ott as manager of the Giants. And when Rickey heard that, being the smartest guy in baseball at the time, Branch Rickey said, hey, instead of talking to Bert Schotten, why don't you take Leo DeRocher? And Horace Stoneham thought he was joking. He said, are you kidding? What are you, crazy? Leo DeRocher? Leo DeRocher is Mr. Dodger. He said, well, I'm telling you right now, you can have DeRocher if you want him. And, of course, history shows us that Leo moved over from the Dodgers to the hated Giants up in Harlem in the Polo Grounds. And the Dodgers then needed to replace Leo DeRocher. And, of course, they eventually replaced him with Bert Schotten. Here's what I never knew. Before Branch Rickey got Bert Schotten to agree to take over for DeRocher, he called Joe McCarthy, Rickey did, Joe McCarthy, the longtime manager of both the Cubs, world champions with them, and, of course, the New York Yankees, world champions with them, and then long time with the Boston Red Sox also. He called Joe McCarthy to manage the Brooklyn Dodgers. Of course, he was turned down. Joe McCarthy said, no, I'm retired. I'm not coming back. That's it. But I had never known that. I never knew that the Dodgers actually made a serious
I didn't know that either.
Towards Joe McCarthy. That would have been something, wouldn't it?
Really?
That would have been pretty old.
Joe McCarthy. Well, that's true. That's true. But I mean, that's one that I never heard before, and I thought that was a good addition to the show. The other thing that I heard is also from 1948 regarding the Brooklyn Dodgers, DeRocher, and the New York Giants, and that was after DeRocher went to the Giants, from the Dodgers to the Giants to manage there. He tried to swing a deal, DeRocher did. He wanted to trade for Ralph Branca. DeRocher actually he loved Branca when they were both with the Dodgers, and he wanted to trade for Ralph Branca, and he offered Ricky Bobby Thompson.
Oh my God! How do you like
Bobby
that?
Thompson? Listen now. Try to not fall off your chair. Bobby Thompson was almost traded for Ralph Branca, straight up, in 1948. How would that have changed the history of baseball?
Oh my God!
Unbelievable.
Isn't that a great
I
story?
never knew that.
Those are two great stories: the Joe McCarthy story and the Bobby Thompson for Ralph Branca story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might say, how could a manager make a trade? Well, Stoneham, as we all knew, was a heavy drinker, and Leo told him what he wanted. And when Leo told him he wanted to get rid of all those old guys that hit home runs and couldn't run and everything, that was done. So Leo was the one calling the shots. And he actually wanted Ralph Branca. And they got in touch with the Dodgers, and they offered Ricky Bobby Thompson. And Ricky turned them down. That is an amazing story, just as amazing to me. And it happened in the same year. It's just as amazing as the Dodgers offering Joe McCarthy the managerial reins in 1940.
That's amazing.
It is
great
amazing.
Stories.
Right. Now, here's another story, and you're not going to believe it. It's from 1948. The third story is just because we all know, as baseball lovers and historians, and especially Brooklyn Dodger fans, we all know what Jackie went through with the hate and the bigotry and the racism. But we didn't know this, and we certainly didn't know it about Bert Schotten. In 1948, the Dodgers were playing the Cubs at Wrigley Field, and a couple of the Cubs, Peanuts Lowry and Eddie Waitkus, had really raked Dodger pitching in the first two games of a three-game series. And Ralph Branca made up his mind that he was going to knock them down, keep them loose. So Branca knocks down Eddie Waitkus with a pitch that made Waitkus lose his hat, lose the bat, and everything, sprawled out on the dirt. And then he finally got up and the game went on and stuff. Back in those days, there were no fights about that stuff. After the game was over, Bert Schotten called Ralph Branca into his office and said, "What's the matter with you? What are you doing out there? Aren't you trying to win?" And Branca said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "About you almost killed Eddie Waitkus." And he said, and Branca said, "All I'm doing is protecting my club. I'm protecting my hitters. That's all I'm trying to do." And Schotten didn't go for that. Schotten said, I heard you tell Bruce Edwards you were going to knock Lowry down on your first pitch, and you were going to knock down Waitkus down on your first pitch. So you were throwing at them intentionally." And Branca said, "Sure I was." And Schotten knew damn well that there were times when pitchers had to throw at hitting.
Of course.
Balance. But he said he persisted. And Schotten says to Branca, he said, "You could have killed him." And Branca said, "My purpose was to scare him, not to maim him." And Branca said, and Branca was like incredulous. He couldn't believe he was called on the carpet for this. And Schotten remained vigilant. He said to him, "If you had killed him, that would have been premeditated murder, because you said you were going to throw at him before he came to bat." Schotten said, "If you would have killed him, it would have been premeditated murder." And Branca laughingly said, "Never in a million years would I have killed him." And Schotten said, "But if you had,
right,
being of your ilk, you wouldn't have even thought anything of it." And Branca said, "My ilk? What the hell does that mean?"
What does that mean?
Schotten said, "You can figure that out yourself, Branca, but the meaning's clear." So here's Schotten, anti-Italian, telling Branca that he's like a mobster or something like that, and it would have been premeditated murder if he had killed Eddie Waitkus. It's ironic that years later Eddie Waitkus was shot by a woman when he was, I think he had moved on from the Cubs. He was on the Phillies at the time, but he actually got shot. Anyway, those are my three stories.
An Italian woman?
Those are my not really. Those are my three stories from 1948 about the Brooklyn Dodgers. I thought they were interesting footnotes to the show, and now we can move on. We're gonna.
Peter, could I bust in for 1 minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to wish Rachel Robinson a very, very happy birthday. Tomorrow is her birthday. She'll be 95 years old. God bless her.
Really?
I just pulled out a little note that she sent to me a couple of years ago, and it's just two paragraphs, and I'd like to share it with you.
Absolutely. Go right ahead. This is from Rachel Robinson.
Rachel Robinson, Jackie's, right. Dear Ronnie, how wonderful to hear from you, and how delighted I am to learn that you enjoyed the movie 42. I am so happy to know that the years continue to be kind to you, and that you are now the proud grandfather of 10. Periodically, I read articles that feature the very special relationship you had with Jack, and I am so happy that through the years you've kept my husband's legacy alive. It has been so important to me to share Jack's story with a younger generation, and you've done so by sharing the letters that span so many years. I am so grateful. Best wishes, Rachel.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful? And
that's a
happy birthday.
Wonderful letter.
Thank you. And happy birthday to beautiful Rachel Robinson.
You should be very proud. Happy birthday to Rachel Robinson. But
absolutely.
Ronnie Rabinovitz, you should be very proud of a letter like that.
Thank you. Thank you. I am
very proud of a letter like that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to shift gears. We're going to go down to Florida here. We're going to talk to Bernie Rose. And Bernie Rose is going to give us his thoughts on a mid-season report card for those Los Angeles Dodgers. Bernie, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, guys. I got to tell you, I don't think any of us 2 months ago had any idea of what was going to happen here. But to say that they've got the best record in baseball, and to actually, the way the Astros have been playing, to have overtaken them, even if it's only by half a game or so, is unbelievable. And I don't even know where to start, because since April 26th, when the Dodgers were 10-12, and somewhere along those lines, or not far after, is when Turner went out for 19 games. But they brought up a particular player who I don't really think I have to tell you who it is. But Cody Bellinger,
yeah,
and it's just unbelievable. Since April 26th, the Dodgers are 54-17.
Wow.
and 54-16 with Bellinger as they brought him up, I guess, the next day. And in the last couple of month and a half or so, the Dodgers have these three streaks going: 42-11, 29-4 in their last 33, and 9-0. If they're going 10 in a row for the second time in 3 weeks or something, or
yeah.
They are unbelievably hot. They can do no wrong. I don't know if you guys saw the games. I'm sorry I didn't go to that Friday night game here in Miami, but when Puig hit that home, three guys.
Oh my God!
This is how hot this team is. They were down. They were up 3-0. Now they're down 4-3, 2 outs in the ninth inning, and three guys in a row are down to their last strike.
Right.
And Peterson singles, and then there was a walk, and then there was, I guess it was, I don't even remember who walked. It escapes me for the moment. And then Puig hit his second home run of the game, and they were both monsters.
Yeah,
so,
they were monster home runs.
Yeah.
Right. You
even
probably
Seager's...
heard me screaming from Minneapolis. I was screaming so hard. I was going nuts. You know what?
I stood up. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm. Listen to this.
And,
33 games that you're talking about, in a record of 500 and better, playing teams that are over 500, they're 12-1, and
right.
below 500, they're 17-3. Just imagine.
Wow. Yes, see, I didn't even get those numbers. Those are great numbers.
Yeah.
Hey, Bernie.
Yeah.
Bernie.
Yes.
Bernie, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, didn't the Dodgers go 42-8 in a 50-game?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
They did. They sure did, and that was one unbelievable run also.
That's scary.
Which is, yeah, I mean, it's why I'm trying to, keep it reeled in a little bit.
Yeah.
But they've had some real good
right.
teams over the years, but it's still 29 years since they've been in the World Series.
You're right.
And but I'm looking at what's going on here. Let me throw you another number because Turner, since his return from the disabled list, they're 25-4, and with Turner and Bellinger in the lineup together, they're 36-9. And when you look at these two guys, when the year ends, I don't know who's going to be the MVP of this team, and who knows, maybe Corey Seager will have something to say about that.
But, right.
And I guess we're going to go down kind of player by player. We'll see how much time we have. But
yeah, let's do that.
There's been some great things, and if you want to start, I want to start with pitching for a second.
Okay.
Because I know Peter, you and I would imagine Ron knew that, but I didn't know Ron earlier in the season. But we talked about it many times about Baez and how we always cringed when Roberts would bring him into the game.
Yeah, we were down on him. Right.
We were.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel now?
Well, I'm wrong. I was wrong. Evidently, this kid figured something out because he always threw 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
But he, not unlike Chris Hatcher, would give up that big home run at the most inopportune times.
Right, exactly.
He must have figured something out.
He had to figure something out.
And believe me, whatever the heck he figured out, he did a hell of a great job because he has been untouchable.
He's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's got every pitch working, and we'll talk about a couple of other guys that have every pitch working in a second. But his ERA is 1.64. Mm-hmm. He's got 38 innings, 38 strikeouts. And he does still walk guys, and it doesn't bother him anymore because he has 16 walks, which is, it's not horrible, but in 38 innings, it's a little high. But
speaking of walks, Bernie, wait a minute. Hold it. a bell just went off in my head.
Okay.
Speaking of walks,
yes,
the Dodgers pitching staff has walked the least number of batters in the National League.
I have no doubt of that, but I didn't know
They're
that.
number
for sure,
one.
But
they're number one. And conversely, their hitters have walked more than any other National League team.
I can believe that too.
So they're number one. They're number one in walks, both pitching and hitting. They've drawn the most walks, and they've given up the least walks.
Right. I believe it, and you see it when you watch the games. Seager just walked in the first inning tonight after being 0-2.
Right.
And Forsythe just walked. The bases are loaded. There's one out. It's already 1-0. But
Dodgers?
We don't want to talk about that.
1-0 Dodgers? 1-0 Dodgers?
It's already 1-0.
Right.
And anyway, I mean, Baez has just been incredible, and I don't mind it when he comes in anymore. And Roberts just seems to have the magic touch. Let's talk about Alex Wood.
All right.
I mean, does this guy get an A+ or what?
Unbelievable.
You got to give Baez an A for the report card, if not an A+. A lot of pitchers are going to get A+. Jansen, Wood, Kershaw, but Alex Wood was another guy last year. I didn't even want him to be on the team this year.
No, me either.
But and I've chastised, I guess, Friedman to some degree for a lot of these players that we've talked about, Peter, in the past, and I've talked about with other people that are still on the team that I was saying get rid of, that have now all turned it around. So I guess I know now why I'm not a GM.
There you go. Me too.
But I'll tell you.
Count me in.
Because Alex Wood has every single pitch working. He's 11-0 with a 156. And as soon as he gets enough innings, and he's not far off, he's going to lead in everything. His whip is the same as Kershaw's, 0.88. And in 86 and a 2/3 innings, he's got 101 strikeouts. This is not, and I've been watching him, this is not the guy we have seen.
Right.
No.
Any way, shape, or form. If he's going to pitch like that, and at this point, it's almost safe to say that it's not a joke. It's unbelievable. When you put him behind Kershaw, who's got a 0.88 whip, second in the league, 14-2 with a 218, second in the league, first in victories. Let me just throw something at you. Kershaw's lifetime whip is 0.998, second in history.
Unbelievable.
And
incredible.
Isn't it? I mean, and he's only 29 years old.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It seems like he's been around forever. Now, and put your head around this. His last 4 starts, Kershaw's given up just 2 runs. He's got a 0.62 ERA. He's got 44 Ks in 29 innings. And he only walked 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is Kershaw. And I want to ask you guys something before we continue.
Sure.
I mean, everybody's heard that that people have been thinking the ball's juice this year.
Yeah.
Or that it was made different, perhaps, and it's wound and sewn different. What have you heard?
I've heard that. I heard that the when they sew them up now, it's not. How can I put this?
This is what I heard.
A lot of
Go
people
ahead.
have said this too. The seams are not high anymore. The seams are level with the ball.
I heard that.
The seams are like flat for some reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And it's going to take me to my next point, because we had guys like Hill and Maeda and even Ryu were all struggling. Now, Ryu's on the DL now. a bunch of guys were struggling. Even Kershaw early on, he was never really struggling, but he was giving up more home runs than he has in any season the last couple of years.
You're right. You're right.
He did.
And I was thinking that when I heard that, something clicked that they were not used to this ball. And now they seem to be, because you take a guy like Hill and Maeda, who was struggling mightily, and Hill had the blister problem again.
The blisters, yeah.
And now, look, all of a sudden, and even Ryu, before he went back on the DL, these guys all started pitching quality starts in the last 3, 4, maybe even 5 starts, where before they couldn't get. The only guy that really hasn't turned it around is Romo, who's been really terrible all year.
Terrible. I hear he's.
What about McCarthy? What about McCarthy?
Yeah.
McCarthy, I don't know what happened to him a couple of starts ago with the yips again.
Yep.
But he seems to be, the last start he had 1 or 2 outside pitches, but he seems to be overcoming it. But McCarthy's got a 3.38, and almost all season he's been under 3. He had a couple of rough outings, but the fact is he's been pretty good. His pitching staff has been fantastic. Of course, Jansen with a 0.90 ERA, 23 saves and 23 opportunities, 61 Ks in 40 innings, and only 2 walks.
Imagine it. Imagine it. Yeah. It's just phenomenal.
And he's only allowed 24 base runners in 40 innings.
What's his whip?
And the opposing hitting average against him is 148.
What's his whip? Do you know?
Yeah, it's 0.9. No, that was his ERA. His whip is, listen to this now, 0.575.
Unbelievable.
That's outrageous. That's outrageous. And you know something, Bernie Rose? You know something, Bernie Rose? The talk here in New York, in New York and the surrounding area, is that the Dodgers are going to get Addison Reed from the Mets.
Really?
Another relief pitcher.
Well, they want another one, I guess, because they got a couple of lefties on the DL. They want another lefty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. San Diego is asking too much for Hand. San Diego is asking the world for Hand. But
yeah,
the Mets are willing. The Mets are willing to let Addison Reed go, and even though he's a right-hander, he's had one and a half really good seasons.
Yeah.
Last year and this year.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. There's a lot of rumors going on.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of rumors.
Romo's on the block. Romo's on the block.
When I was, this doesn't entail the Dodgers, but it's interesting. When I was dialing the phone, I saw on Sports Channel that the Chicago White Sox, they announced their lineup for tonight's game, and Todd Frazier is not in the lineup, and there's nothing wrong with him. So they have
he's on the block.
Robertson. Yeah, they have Frazier and Robertson both going to the Red Sox tonight.
Huh.
Well, we'll see how that's
the rumor.
Yeah,
that's the rumor. Yeah.
Well, the Diamondbacks picked up Martinez from the Tigers today, and he was rumored to be going to the Dodgers.
Yeah,
so,
right.
But I don't know. When I don't know that we need another guy in the outfield. Although he kills left-handers, he lights them up. He's hitting .475 against lefties. I saw that Martinez.
Huh.
But in any case. So let's just quickly go over the rest of the pitchers, because they've been playing musical chairs with AAA. I know you've noticed that.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, Fields is up and down. Yeah.
Yeah, what did you make of that? I mean, it seems like they were sending guys up and down so much, I didn't quite get it.
Well,
it's like a revolving door.
Here's what they're doing, I think. I'm not a GM and never will be, but I think what they do is when they use a guy like Fields for, let's say, an inning plus, like maybe 2 innings, they send him down because they know he's not going to be able to pitch the next day. So they bring up a guy like Avalon or somebody from Oklahoma City that hasn't pitched in a couple of days and is fresh, and he'll be able to pitch the next night, whereas Fields would not be able to pitch. Now, I'm just using Fields as an example. It could be anybody, any young guy like that. What they do is when that guy pitches, let's say he pitches 2 innings or 2 1/3 innings, and it doesn't matter if he struck everybody out. They're still going to send him down because he's no good to them the next night or the next night. So they send him down, they bring up another guy, and that's the musical chairs. That's the way it's done.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
And I guess they can do it.
Yeah.
You know, Fields earlier on.
And if the guy's out of options, they find a small injury and they put him on the 10-day DL.
That's what they've been doing. Yes.
And that's how they've been
doing.
That's how they do it. They're not. You know what? Dodger fans for the last 3-4 years on Facebook and all those chat rooms, they have been busting the front office balls like crazy, calling them idiots, this and that and this and that. Why do you get these broken down players and this and that? They have a method to their madness. Now, we all wanted the Dodgers to be in the World Series last year, and it didn't happen, so everybody piled on again. But this front office knows what it's doing. You have to be patient. They know what they're doing.
I can't second guess them anymore. You know, you may recall I was pretty down on Puig for quite a while.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And here's a guy with 18 home runs and 47 RBIs, and he's brought his average up to over 250, which considering
he's been hot after lately. He's been hot.
Considering he really couldn't get over 220 for the longest time, or out of the 220s. And we'll talk about some of these other guys and how they're doing that. Fields was pitching great. He had 1 or 2 bad outings, so they sent him down, brought him up, sent him down. But this guy, he's got a 2.76 ERA. I mean, the record doesn't really matter so much for a reliever. He's 5-0 though. But his WHIP is 1.01.
Yeah, that's great.
And he's got 39 Ks and 32 innings. And the thing is, if you take away those 2 bad innings he had, that 2.76 ERA, I think, would be way down.
Well,
that's why
you're right.
That's why when you talk about, and I mean the collective you, not you in particular, but when a baseball fan talks about relief pitchers, and they bring out that the guy's ERA is so low and stuff, that means nothing. It really means absolutely nothing.
It's the whip.
I'll tell you why it means nothing. Let's say it's opening day, and you're losing 6-0. So you're bringing this kid in relief, and he starts giving up singles and walks and singles and walks and singles and walks, and he gives up like 7 runs, and you're losing like 13-0. Okay, he doesn't get anybody out. So his ERA at that time, when you finally pinch hit for him, a couple innings down the road, while you're way, way behind by 12 or 13 runs, his ERA is like astronomical. Okay, now you bring him in. Now you bring him in a tough situation with the bases loaded. A week later, and he strikes out McCutchen, let's say, on 3 pitches.
Yeah, right.
His ERA is still like 42.21. You know. Then you bring him in 2 nights later. And he strikes out, Bryce Harper with the bases loaded, and gets out of that inning. His ERA is still 41.92. You know, it's going to take him 2 months to get that ERA under control, but in the meantime, he might have had 12 straight phenomenal appearances, and only first
the ERA stays high. Absolutely right.
ERA means nothing with a relief pitcher, unless of course it's high and he has a lot of appearances.
The only reason I brought it up was because Fields, for like the first month of the season, it was 0, you know, so that does make a bit of a difference.
Yeah,
and because he was just phenomenal, and I like Dayton, I like Fields. Dayton should be off the DL in a little bit, and he's young too. He's like 23 or something.
Yeah, he's a good lefty boy.
And what about Morrow? Brandon Morrow's been real good. His whip is 0.89.
I hear he's on the block too.
Well, he may be. I mean, I don't know what they're doing or what their plans are, but you know, the way everything's going right now, I like the way Stripling has looked this year. And
yes, I have too.
And they're very high on Brock Stewart.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only thrown 11 innings, but his whip is 0.45. I mean, it's only 11 innings. I don't want to get crazy. But he's another 25-year-old. Listen to these guys. Stewart, 25. Stripling, 27. Avalan, who, I don't know, the jury's out a little bit on him, but sometimes he's real good. Only 27. Dayton is in his early 20s. Jansen's only 29. Alex Wood's only 26. Baez's only 29. This is unbelievable.
Yeah. Hey, Bernie, just for our listeners who don't know, can you explain what the whip is? We talked a lot about the whip.
Yeah, well, the whip is walks and hits per innings.
Right.
Okay.
And
right. I mean, some people, our listeners, might not know what that is.
Right. Well, you know, that's a fairly new stat, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Ronnie brings up a very valid point. Ronnie brings up a very valid point. There might be fans that are listening to this show, and they're saying, what the hell are they talking about? What's a whip? So it's always good good to remind people, you know, exactly what it is. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings or anything.
No.
But it's walks and hits per innings pitched, and anything under, I see if you agree with me on this, anything under 1.5 is pretty good, right?
I would say.
Yeah, that's the way it appears to be.
Bernie?
But
the
top guys, though,
right?
You know, those are the guys that are down near 1 or under 1.
It's like with the batters, when you talk about OPS, people go, what the heck is OPS? Well, OPS is very simple. It's their batting average plus their slugging percentage.
Exactly.
And the average,
their on-base percentage.
Right. The average, their on-base percentage and their batting average. I'm sorry, did I say slugging? I meant on-base percentage. Okay.
On-base percentage,
an average one is between an average one for the league, like the whole league or the whole American League, the whole National League, is like between 700 and 750. So if a guy has an OPS of 800, he's better than the average Joe.
Right.
And Justin Turner's OPS is over 1,000.
When will he register as far as the batting leader in the National League?
I don't know that. I don't know.
It's got to be coming very soon.
It's got to be coming very soon. Yeah.
It's coming very soon because it's
Here's something interesting, Bernie. Wait, Bernie and Ronnie, listen to this. Here's something very interesting. Someone said that at the end of the season, if Turner is shy for plate appearances to win the batting title, they say that if he's so far ahead, let's say he needs 10 more at-bats. If you added an 0 for 10 and he still wins the title, they give him the batting title. Did you hear that?
Really? No, I didn't hear that. Huh.
Bernie, did you hear that?
He deserves it.
I did hear you. Yeah, you know, that sounds slightly familiar. I hadn't thought of that in ages.
If he's hitting 370 at the end of let's just for argument's sake say Turner's hitting 370 at the end of the year. But he doesn't have enough. But he doesn't have enough plate. He doesn't have enough at bats.
Plate appearances.
He's shy of the at bats, plate appearances. Well, if the second hitter hits like 341, and Justin Turner is 10 or 11 at bats or plate appearances shy, if the statistician gives him those 11 appearances with, of course, no hits, and he's still above the second guy at 341, if he's like at 350, he wins the batting crown. That's what I heard. I have never known that before this year.
That's great. That's great.
Well, I hope he keeps hitting like this. I don't see why he wouldn't. He's just locked in. I've been really into him as a player since they got him. Really.
He didn't hit his first home run until like June 1st, right?
I know.
He had no home runs.
No.
Yeah, because he was flying out deep a lot, and now they're starting to go out.
He was hurt.
But, the same thing happened last year, and he ended up with 27.
Yeah.
And he's a good
I don't know if he'll
baseman,
make 27 this year, but let's get to the hitters because Turner's OPS is over 1,000, 1.053. His on-base percentage is 469. 469.
I know.
And if he didn't miss those 19 games, he'd probably at least have 55 RBIs. I'd have to give him at least another 16 the way he was knocking guys in.
Yeah.
And the only way he wouldn't be... Yeah, go ahead.
Bellinger's OPS is like 980.
Yes, it is. And his on base is 348. And don't forget, he's a rookie. He's 20. He just turned 22 like a week ago or something.
Yeah.
And
missed the whole first
got
month
61 RBIs.
Yeah, 61
26
RBIs.
home runs.
Amazing.
Peter, you remember one day a long while back when I said at the beginning of the season, I said if they bring Bellinger up, he'll stay forever.
Yep.
Remember that?
You did.
Yep.
You did.
That's
I said the only way that can happen is if they trade Agon or Agon gets hurt.
Right. And
well, and I was watching Agon struggle, and I'm thinking they got to bring this kid up. But you don't sit there. I mean, Gonzalez is like an icon.
Of course he is.
And he's been our guy until Turner turned into Turner. He was everything, and maybe still was. He was our number one guy.
Right.
Although, 2 years ago in the playoffs against the Mets, they couldn't get Turner out. Turner's been our guy for a while, but now that we have Bellinger and now that we have Seager, we got a lot of guys.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Chris Taylor?
I love him.
I
love him.
291.
He's really young.
Yeah, he's only 26. You can play him anywhere, and out of nowhere, he's got 10 home runs. He's got 861 OPS, 369 on base percentage.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite amazing what's going on with this team.
Look how many of these ball players can play different positions. How versatile they are. Just imagine that, what's going on. I mean, you see Chris Taylor in the outfield. You see him at second base. I mean, Hernandez plays everywhere. Utley's got playing first base once in a while. I mean, all these guys. Bellinger, outfield, first base. I mean, they're all over.
When Toles went down for the season, I'm thinking, because I was looking forward to seeing what he could do for the whole year. I'm thinking, wow, what are they going to do now? But it all got answered. So if Gonzo becomes healthy, does he play?
Well, he could play first base and put Bellinger in the outfield, I suppose.
Yeah, but you got to put Bellinger back in left, put Taylor in center, and Peterson is going to end up sitting.
What about Peterson? What do you think?
See, here's the deal with Agon. My personal opinion was they should have traded him last year. You trade a guy like that a year early, not a year late. Now, when he comes back, when he's 100% healthy, and for some reason, I suspect that he is healthy, and he's been healthy, but they're holding him out.
You're right.
Because here's the deal. You can't sit a guy who makes $20 million a year.
No.
He can't be healthy and sitting on your bench. That just doesn't happen. Okay?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. So there's a little finagling going on there, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're right.
Let's run over down a couple of other things. How about
go ahead,
your backup catcher? What about your backup catcher?
Barnes. I love him. Great.
I think he came up a little bit toward the end of last year, But
right.
this guy, he's only got 110 at-bats, but that's a nice number for your backup.
Right.
Guess what? He's got a 936 OPS. He's got a 400 on-base percentage.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting 291, 5 homers, 20 RBIs, and he's your backup catcher. Can you
imagine?
I mean, everybody is hitting on this team.
Everybody's hitting.
It's just unbelievable. And a couple of things, guys that were having bad years like Utley and Peterson and even Puig, who was he was always hitting home runs and knocking in runs, but his average was down. They've all turned it around. Forsythe is the guy I wanted to bring up. He was hitting 180 a month and a half ago, or a month ago even, and to be hitting 245, it doesn't sound like much, but that's a big turnaround. And Peterson, since he came back from the DL, he was hitting 215.
Yeah.
And he had 1 home run. Now he's hitting 250 and has 9 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean,
if they were to get rid of Forsythe, if you wanted to keep Chris Taylor or Forsythe, which would you keep?
Well, from what I'm seeing now, Taylor would be my second baseman.
Yeah. Me too.
I mean, he's just been incredible, really.
He's incredible. So look at the youth on that team. My God, you got Seager's young, Taylor's young, Bellinger's young. I mean, it's incredible.
I know. It's what I'm talking about. I mean, Grandal and Barnes are only 28 and 27. I mean,
Puig is young.
Thompson, I don't know whatever's going to happen to him. He's 26.
I don't know.
Tolles next year is 25. Peterson's 25.
How old's Turner?
Maybe he can. Turner's 32. But that's okay. They signed him for 4 years. He's in his prime. I just can't. I can't. I don't want to get way ahead of myself, but this team looks like last year's Cubs. It's not or better.
I'm still not crazy about Van Slyke or the other one you just mentioned. I forget his name.
Thompson.
Trey Thompson, right?
Thompson, right.
Well,
right,
he hasn't really shown enough yet. He hasn't really been up enough. I guess last year he made the team and then he got hurt. And he struggled, but he's only had 33 at-bats, so you can't really go by that. And Gutierrez, they put him on a DL. He wasn't doing much. They brought him in to be a situation guy, but he hasn't done much. I don't know what's going to happen there.
No.
Eibner hit a couple of home runs. He's only 28. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Eibner.
Who's that? Eibner, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know where he is now. Is he back in the minors?
I think so.
I think so too.
They sent him back down because they have so much going on. So many guys that you would have to give an A on this team. We didn't talk about Seager, 296. He's been over 300 most of the last month. I think he struggled a little bit the last couple of games, but he's got 58 runs scored, 46 RBIs, 92 hits, 394 on base percentage, 896 OPS, and he's your shortstop.
He has.
I remember the days of Dow Maxville, but
he leads. Great. Seager leads the team in strikeouts, 88. I saw that today.
Seager does. Yeah.
He strikes out some. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's got the propensity for that big.
Bellinger's second. I think Bellinger's got 81, something like that. Yeah. They're both in the 80s. Seager and Bellinger in the 80s.
Sure, that's something that they can work on. Because Mickey Mantle used to strike out a lot too.
Yeah, but
look at everything else that they're doing. I mean,
and all the home runs. My God,
it's unbelievable. And so it's been a hell of a first half.
Yeah.
And you just have to think, can they keep this going? It's just unbelievable.
What else do you want to cover, Bernie? You want to talk about Roberts?
Yeah. Let me just say one quick thing, and we'll get to Roberts.
Sure. Go ahead. It's all yours.
I was going to say Hernandez, who's been covering for everybody too and playing all different positions like Taylor. If he could only get his average up a little bit, because it's only at 211. But in 190 at bats, he's got 40 hits. Okay? You want to know how many of those 40 are singles or extra base hits?
The majority are extra base hits, I think.
27 of the 40 are extra base hits.
Extra base hits. Yeah.
8 home runs, 18 doubles, and a triple. And he's only got 40 hits. So he does seem to get things done when you need it. And that's why they're still working with him and using him when they need to.
I like him. I like
his determination and his
I like how he keeps
all around
the
team effort,
right.
Well, what do you guys want to say about Roberts? I mean, what I'm reading is his energy and his optimism has rubbed off on this team, and they've bought into everything that he's bringing.
Yes, they have. They love him. They love playing for him. He's a player's manager. He really
is. Yes, Bernie.
They're reflecting his upbeat personality. They have 23 comeback wins. 24.
Amazing.
That was at the All-Star break, and they had another one on Friday.
Yeah. They don't give up.
Like, and in Friday's game, I was like, I can't remember the move right now. I was like, what are you doing? And I shouldn't have been questioning him because they pulled it out in the ninth inning, So I don't know that he knew they were going to do that. But
you remember when the Dodger fans used to leave in the seventh inning? They're not leaving.
They don't do that anymore.
No, they're staying. That's right.
You are right. All the announcers talk about that.
What do you think about what Roberts did the other night in against San Diego when he went after their manager? He went completely off the rails. He went crazy.
Yeah.
You think
I saw that.
I think that helped the clubhouse. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it did too. I never seen.
You know what I'm talking about,
he was
Bernie?
Really pissed.
Sure. I was watching. I saw that.
Yeah, I was too. And I was watching too.
I have to agree with you because it's very out of character. But
it's not him.
He's keeping it upbeat. I was like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
But you might be right, Peter.
Yeah, you're right. I think you are, Peter.
I think it was calculated.
Yeah.
I'm going to fire this team up.
Yeah.
Even more. How much more can they be fired up?
Yeah. That's right. They were doing pretty good before that.
Here's what bothers me about the whole season. I'm going to tell you what bothers me about the whole season.
What's that?
It bothers me. It bothers me that Vin Scully is not here officially for this.
Yeah.
It bothers me greatly.
Me too.
It really and truly does. It bothers me greatly. And the other thing that bothers me, and it's not anybody's fault, but the three of us have been watching baseball for a very, very long time.
Right.
And we know that there have been teams that have won a lot of games, and gone into the playoffs, and something happened, and they didn't get through to the World Series. Now the Dodgers are on they're on a roll. I mean, that's putting it mildly. They're on a roll. They're on a pace to win 111 games. Let's just say, for argument's sake, once again, that they win 111 games, and they go into the playoffs, and against Washington or something. Let's just say, I'll just grab a team off the top of my head, and the pitching, Washington's pitchers pitch shutouts or something like that, and they don't make it again. How frustrating can that be to the front office, to the fans, to the players themselves, to win 111 games and then get kicked out of the playoffs again. I mean,
extremely.
It'd be terrible.
And you and I and Ronnie, and we've all watched so many games, and we know how baseball works. It's a game of inches, and it's a weird game. And if a pitcher is on, you're not going to touch him. When a professional pitcher has everything working that night, you're not going to smell him. And I'll tell you what, if they go down in flames again in the postseason, especially with Kershaw losing again, I'm going to be extremely disheartened.
Oh, it's going to be without question.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so nervous. I'm not nervous about the regular season anymore. I stopped being nervous about the regular season weeks ago. But now I'm starting to build up my fear. You want to call it fear? I don't know. I'm starting to say to myself, what happens when Kershaw gives up that bases-loaded double or something, and they lose again, and they don't get to the World Series? It's just going to be like, what do you have to do to get there? It's amazing. And the thing that really burns my ass is that the Giants have won 3 championships in the last 6 or 7 years. And we haven't been there since 1988. And now we have this terrific team, both pitchers, hitting, fielding, everything. And if we don't make it this year, it's going to be so disheartening, so terribly disheartening. It really is going to be.
Well, I hope the team doesn't get disheartened. If they get in the playoffs and they go down quickly 0-2 or something, or, in a series, especially in the first round, you don't want to go down.
Oh, God, it's 3 out of 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I never liked that, but I understand the time constraints, so.
Right.
But I don't think this team is anywhere, shape, or form thinking like that. I hope, they totally believe. I mean, you could see it. They never give up.
Yes, you can.
And frankly, if Kershaw and Wood and Hill are going to pitch the way they've pitched that I've seen, even if Kershaw was to lose game 1 of Scherzer, because Scherzer comes and throws a 2-hit shutout, which he's certainly capable of doing.
Sure he is.
I don't think the rest of those guys, and they're good, Strasburg, but Strasburg is not at the moment what he was supposed to be. And Gonzalez, I don't think the rest of their pitchers can match. And if they don't do something about their bullpen, there's no way they're beating anybody.
Well, they just got 2 guys yesterday. They just got 2 guys for their bullpen yesterday, and they're rumored to get 2 more within the next 10 days or whatever.
Who's
you kind of figured they had to. They really had to.
Washington.
So, you can't sit on that bullpen with a team like that. That's a good team. And who knows what the Cubs might do turning it around. But I don't think the Cubs pitching is good enough this year.
What you don't want to see, and I don't think you're going to see it now that manager Roberts went crazy the other night. I don't think you're going to see it, but if you shift your eyes up to Boston, Fenway Park, and John Farrell, he's so quiet, he's so laid back, he's too much of a gentleman, he doesn't go crazy. The Red Sox are sitting on their hands. They by far have the most outstanding team in not only the American League East, but maybe the whole American League except for Houston. The Red Sox are loaded, and yet all they do is win 1 and lose 1. Win 1 and lose 1.
Yeah, I don't know what's
going
on.
They don't have the fire. If you watch their games, they all sort of play like Hanley Ramirez. It's like if I hit one out, great. If I don't, a little smirk on the face, and it's no big deal. And so, I hate to see a team like that. I can't stand it because they're wasting their talent. That team right now, the Red Sox should be 10 games in front. And they're not.
Well, maybe the Yankees will catch them. The Yankees.
I don't think so.
Ball.
Tampa Bay might catch them though.
Hey, what do you think about the Twins?
The Twins are doing well. Twins are doing well.
Yeah, They beat the Yankees last night. They got Colon's pitching tonight. He's starting for the Twins.
That's funny.
Isn't that funny?
That's funny.
What's he?
Yeah.
He's got to be 45 years old or something.
Yeah, he is. And about 400 pounds. Bernie Rose,
yes.
Is there anything else you want to talk about on the Dodgers and their mid-season report card?
I think, I covered most of it.
Okay.
I don't know where else to go at this point.
All right.
What do you think?
Okay.
Did I leave anybody out? Leave anything out?
No.
Just asking. No, I don't think you did. When are either one of you guys going to get out to Dodger Stadium again?
Oh, boy, would I love to.
I would love to. Me too.
I tell you, I've said this the last couple of years, but if they can get into the World Series somehow, some way, I got to find my way out there.
Me too.
Because I would love to go to a Dodger game in the World Series at Dodger Stadium.
I love it there. It's so beautiful. It's such a gorgeous
It is
stadium.
beautiful. Linda and I were there 2 years in a row, and it was really great. And I was just wondering if either one of you had plans to go out there.
I don't yet. My son and grandson, I picked them up at the airport today. They said, "Grandpa, we're going to Dodger Stadium if they win that."
Oh man!
Well, we'll see. Yeah.
It's a great idea. No question about that.
Yeah,
that'd be so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank our guest, Bernie Rose, for his insight on the 2017 Dodgers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
I'd like to thank my partner, Ronnie Rabinovitz, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking about the 2017 iteration of the Bums, and I also think that those 3 stories in the beginning of the show about the Brooklyn Dodgers were interesting, and
they were.
I'll rate the show an A. How's that?
I would say so too.
I like
Bernie,
that.
don't be a stranger. Bernie, listen to me. Don't be a stranger. Don't wait for me to text you or get in touch with you and say, do you want to come on and talk about so and so or this? If you come up with something that you want to talk about, you text me and you email me or message me and you tell me, Pete, listen, I got this thing that I want to get off my chest about whatever it is.
You got it.
Whatever it is about the Dodgers and stuff. It could be Brooklyn, it could be Los Angeles, whatever. And you just tell me what you want to talk about, and there will be absolutely, positively no problem. You come back on, we'll talk about it, we'll kick it around, we'll discuss it, and we'll have a lot of fun doing it.
Sounds great. I'll try to be around a little more. Great talking with you guys tonight.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Good evening.
And until next time, to our audience, have a good night, and thank you again. Bye-bye.
Okay. Take care.